will start the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees. Can we start with roll call?
Chair Nichols,
Present?
Vice Chair Lucas,
Present.
Trustee Linares, Trustee Markle,
Present.
Trustee Spainsel. A quorum is present.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item number 3, public comment. The public is invited at this time to provide comment on any topic that relates to a matter over which this public body has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power. And I don't see anybody for the first time in a while. We don't have anybody here. Okay, so we will move on. Okay, item number 4 for possible, item number 4, approval of the minutes. And I have some thoughts on the minutes. I don't know if anybody else does. Does anybody else have thoughts on the minutes? I have some comments.
I have 2 corrections, or 2 things that I think may be possible corrections.
Okay.
The first is in item 3, this public comment. It says that Vice Chair Lucas clarified that the late material from the previous meeting gets attached to the next month's minutes, and I don't believe that's true, and I think I said that it does not. Does that sound? Because we don't put the late materials from the meeting before on the next month's minutes. So I think that that last sentence is incorrect. And then on,
you said minutes. The minutes from the previous meeting get attached to the next month's.
that the late material from
Yeah.
the previous meeting get attached to the next month's minutes.
Yeah,
But that's not,
You're correct. What I said was that the late material gets attached to
it's
the
on
agenda on our website.
correct.
And then I believe.
I feel like I said
confirmed-
it does not get attached.
Yeah, I think you said,
just
yeah,
needs
it
to say
doesn't
it
get
does not.
attached. It's, and that, yeah, I think you're correct on that.
Okay. And then my other, and this one I cannot remember, so hopefully there's notes somewhere. At the top of page 7, this one says that I made the motion and I seconded the motion. And that doesn't seem possible. So, but I don't remember which one I did or who did the other piece.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, so I noticed the same on top of page 7, so thank you for that. Moving down to the middle of page 7, starting at, I think it was minute 5.40 seconds. We were talking, and then it said Miss Niegos, I probably butchered her name, and I apologize, clarified that the proposal was an action item, yada, yada, yada. Her title's not in there. It probably should have said DA or DAG, so that we know who was in our meeting.
Well, it's at the top under staff at the heading where it says who's present. But if you want, I could repeat it if that helps clarify it.
Yeah, it does, because we have had someone from the public come in, last week and comment that he was a little confused on who was talking.
Right.
So I think it would be helpful so that the public doesn't get confused and it doesn't sound like we're not taking to what they say to heart. So those were my thoughts. Does anybody else have anything? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections?
Just a quick note, if we can maybe stall for a couple minutes, I can figure out who made the motion and who seconded the motion, so we can get that right in the minutes.
Sure.
Okay, give me just 1 minute.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that.
When you guys were saying the 5 minutes, I was like, what are they talking about? But then I saw what you meant. It took me a minute to go, oh,
No,
At
I
what
remember. I
point?
remember it was 5 minutes, 40 seconds.
Well, I didn't know it
She's
yet.
like, wow, really?
It took me a minute to catch on, so, but I got there.
I feel like I might have made the motion and not seconded it, but I can't stand on that. And we
Well-
still don't
Well, we
remember
can,
who
he's
did
playing
second
back
it.
he's playing
Yeah.
back the video or the audio right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought maybe she would read that, fix it by listening later on, but that's.
The second was trustee Linares.
That makes sense. See, that makes sense.
Sorry, I didn't remember that.
I don't expect you to remember everything that you.
Really, that was it for the day. So,
Exactly. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the correction? How do I want to say this? How do I want to say that, Adam? Changing or
With the
correcting?
corrections discussed on the record.
With corrections discussed on the record?
With the corrections we discussed on the record. Yeah.
this is trustee Markle. I move we accept the minutes of the July 10th regular meeting with the corrections that were discussed on the record today.
Trustee Lucas, all second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Yay. Okay. Very excited for the next one. And I do want to thank you. Okay, so item number 5A. This is discussion only, but I'm very excited because we are going to have a discussion. And it says, and presentation from Friends of the Carson Library regarding activities of the organization. So we are going to. Oh, that's my turn already. It's your turn already. Take it away. Could you please also introduce how you are connected to Friends of the Library?
Sure, this is trustee Markle. I have volunteered at the Browser's Corner, which is the Friends of the Library used bookstore. And in January, I was elected to be president of the group. If you're not familiar with the Friends of the Library, this has been a pretty active group in Carson for quite a while. Phyllis Patton, who was a library trustee, and I'm pretty sure she was one of the founding members of the Friends of the Library. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm thinking. Let's see. This is 25. It was probably in 1980 or something. It was a long time ago. She has since passed on. Her husband Phil is still an active participant. And what I can say, it's not like it's a high-powered job, but the volunteers for the Friends of the Library, for the Browser's Corner, are as dedicated a group of mostly women, not all, but of citizens in Nevada, and even from, there's people who live in Dayton, to volunteer to run the library, or run the bookstore. It is open 5 days a week from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock. It's open on Sunday. It's open on Saturday. It's closed on Sunday and Monday. The purpose of the Friends of the Library is to support the library, the Carson City Library. So the funds that are generated from selling used books are all donated. The proceeds from that are used to provide money to the library through Joy has accepted these checks past few years. The last one, just this past month, was for $65,000. This is the proceeds from the used bookstore over the past year. So every year, I think the bylaws of the group indicate that up to 95% of the uh, proceeds from the selling of the books will be given to the library. And the library, the director, library director, whomever it is at the time, provides a sort of a list of things that that money is going to be used for. It's often used to support the summer reading program a lot. And just for the director and Joy has been able to, delineate different things that the money goes for. So, we're very fortunate here in Carson to have this little used library, little used bookstore that is packed full of used books. And whenever I work there a couple times a month, people bring in their used books. Some of them are, someone will bring a whole bag full of used new fiction. Another person will bring in, 10 boxes of old books from their mother's house that they're cleaning up. So the volunteers work really hard to sort out the materials and to place them in the appropriate sections of the bookstore. There are books that need to be discarded because they're not in good shape. We don't take like encyclopedias, old dictionaries, old textbooks, dirty, crummy-looking things. There was an article just recently in the Nevada Appeal about sort of what goes on in the back room of the used bookstore, of Browser's Corner, because it is a very busy place. And I would say there's probably easily 100+ books, donated books that come in every day. And unfortunately, some of them get thrown away. Some of them get donated to there's a library at the senior center. It's, a self-service kind of bookshelf area. The hospital, there's someone from the hospital who comes and takes books for the hospital. Over the past couple of years, we've given books to the Jacks Valley Elementary School so that they can give every child a book, like at the end of the year or at Christmas, whenever. It's really quite an amazing functioning group. And like I said, we're very lucky to have this here in Carson since we don't have a real commercial library. So does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Yes, one of the, before we move too much farther, one of the reasons I wanted to have this as a discussion, well, two reasons I want it as a discussion item. One, we don't have really any say over what they do. So we can't direct them to do things because we don't have say, so we can only discuss it. But one of the reasons I did want to discuss it is because I do want to know how we can engage and collaborate better with them because I see some holes. So,
Okay.
so that's why I'm excited that you're the president because we can bring that to you.
Well, let me just say that there are meetings. There's a meeting of the board of directors or the board of the Friends of the Library every third Monday, or every third Monday of the month. So once a month, and at those meetings are open to the public. They do have they follow the rules like we follow here. So there's an agenda. The agenda it's usually posted at the library too, isn't it? The monthly agenda for yeah. So the agenda is posted. Also, they have time for public comment. just like we do. And also the library, or the Friends of the Library, has a position, a sort of a quasi-temporary position that's named in the bylaws of someone who can be a member at large. So, and anytime you would want to come to a meeting, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you for that.
Sure.
I do know that a few years ago, it stopped probably about the time you and I became board members, but the president used to come to our meetings maybe quarterly and give us a report, and we could engage with the president. Because the holes I see, I mean, I can go to the meeting, and I'm not sure, Adam would have to tell me, I'm just not sure how comfortable I'd be going to the meeting going, as the chair of the library, because I have concerns for the library, not for myself, but for the library, and that's why I want to know. I want to talk a little bit about how we can engage and like I said, collaborate better, because we used to have somebody here that we would talk to about these kinds of things. So, Adam, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Adam Tully, Deputy District Attorney. In terms of going to a meeting of a private nonprofit on your own time, that's totally fine. The only thing you'd want to be careful about is you probably wouldn't want more than 2 people from this body at that meeting, because the odds of discussion, including things that might be in the purview of this board, is relatively high, and you don't want to run the risk of forming a quorum at that meeting. But otherwise, you feel free to express your own views, and as long as you make clear that you're expressing them perhaps in your capacity as the chair, but not speaking for the entire board, that's totally fine.
But we can discuss it here, though, correct? Because it does have to do with the library.
Yeah, you'd want to have it agendized, whatever you'd like to deliberate on.
Well,
We'd
no, I don't really need to deliberate. Again, we can't tell them what to do. But again, we used to have something where we'd go back and forth and kind of discuss and say, here's what we're hearing, here's what we're seeing. And then the chair or the president would take that back and go, okay, thank you, or she would tell us things.
So I think what you're asking is if the president of the Friends of the Carson City Library were to come to this meeting, I know, but still, were to come to this meeting and give some kind of update, is that a thing that this board could engage in discussion on? And the answer is yes. We just want to make sure it's, if you want to do it quarterly, we agendize it quarterly so that this board can deliberate on whatever the president of the Friends of the Carson City Library is going to present.
Could I ask a clarifying question about an accidental quorum? If Trustee Markle is there in her capacity on that board, is she one of the 2 members that we would not exceed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
A little. Anyway, I'm sure we do have questions.
Well, isn't this already agendized?
So we can discuss
For
it
a discussion only, discussion and presentation. I gave a presentation. Can we have a discussion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any kind of question you want.
Okay.
Discuss away.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't know how many of you know about Browser Corners, but I've lived in Carson City 20 years. When I first moved here, I didn't know anybody. And the first volunteering I did was at Browser Corner when it was in the library. And I spent 2 years, every Saturday for 2 years in that place. I love it. I support them. I go in there all the time, give my yearly membership. But that's me. So anyway, I do go in there. So I go in there a lot. And I want to know how we can engage and collaborate better with them, because I'm gonna tell you a really quick story that I heard from one of our staff members. They went over there again for the summer reading program to go collect books, because they were getting books, because they give away free books at the end of the reading
A staff person
from the library.
from the public library.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Went over there
Uh-huh.
to gather the free books that they would then take back to the library and give during the party. a volunteer was very irate that they wanted free books. And another staff member had to come out and explain to them that they gave the library free books because they support the library. I've been in there a couple of times when I've had to remind volunteers that they're there to support the library. And it would be nice if you walked in there and you knew that's what they did. Maybe by having, this year we earned this much money, this is what we gave the library. Something like that. Having more of the library calendars out there. But I just, again, I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I'm just coming up with ideas because I'd really like to engage and collaborate with Browser Corners so that that it really feels like it is supporting the library.
Okay.
I have a question. This is Trustee Spansale. My question for the president is, have you noticed anything in your tenure as president that you feel or that your volunteers have communicated to you that is for lack of a better word, a hole on your end or a place where, more support could be needed? Like we just heard from the chair about her ideas, and that's wonderful. And I'm wondering if you as an organization have identified anything that would be like, oh, wow, that'd be nice if we could have blank, or it'd be nice if there was this particular kind of communication. Just wondering if from the other end there has been anything identified.
Every month, there's a meeting of the bookstore manager, who is a volunteer and member of the Friends of the Library, with different volunteers who are sort of in charge of several of different areas. This is the kind of thing that we would talk about there. I usually attend those meetings. I don't have a special area that I am responsible for, but if I know that people do know that we provide books to the library, I don't know if there's a particular formal process. I don't know, Joy, do you just send somebody over there to get free books? Without,
It's always been our programming and outreach coordinator, or prior to that, it was our collection development supervisor, who is a really long time employee of the library. And Trustee Nichols is correct. The last few years, the request for books has not necessarily been received well. And so it's been Haley Wilson, our programming and outreach coordinator, that has reached out to, I believe it's Lisa, the store manager. And Lisa, of course, knows who she is. But unfortunately, I think it's just volunteer or maybe a new person. But Haley always goes in. My understanding is that she goes in and says, I'm the programming and outreach coordinator from the library. We're here to collect some books for the summer reading programs giveaways. And that hasn't necessarily landed well. So,
okay, to me, this sounds like a communication issue. Whether if maybe Haley called Lisa and said, okay, we're going to come get some books, and maybe Lisa didn't write that down someplace. Maybe she was not there when Haley came. If there was, just more effective communication on both sides, Haley sends an email, I'm coming over Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. I need to pick up 100 books. Will they be ready for me? So communication from that end would be good, from your end. And of course, communication from the side of the bookstore would also be good, because at that point, Lisa can, as long as it's not, she doesn't get the email at 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, but maybe a couple days ahead of time, so she can set those things aside so that they are available and clearly marked, so that volunteers would be able to clearly know that the books were available and there for someone to pick up. That's about the only thing I can say. I mean, it's clearly some miscommunication on whoever's part. It doesn't really matter at this point, because, we have to go forward with it. So just more communication, and I can pass that information on to the board meeting when we have one next week.
I think to make it easier on everybody, since we know the dates of when we're having our party, the summer reading or winter reading wrap up, would be really nice, maybe a couple of weeks ahead of time. Because I think historically they go over and they pick out the books, correct? I think maybe to make it easier on everybody, maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe 2 weeks ahead of time, she emails Lisa and says, hey, we need 100 kids books, 50 kids, whatever. And let the volunteers, because again, that's a way to pull them in so they know about that. Let the volunteers over at Browser Corner pick out the books, put them in boxes or bags or something, and have them clearly marked for the library. Again, I'm just spitballing. It seems like make it easier on everybody.
Well, due to the fact that the books that are available are all donated books, it's not always, we don't always know what's going to be there. So like 2 weeks ahead of time, there might not be enough appropriate books. I was in there a couple weeks ago, and when I looked over the children's section, nearly everything was gone. And there hadn't been as much donation in that area as, it's not a thing that is, clear.
Right, but if you give them 2 weeks ahead, I'm not saying pick them up in 2 weeks. I'm saying, hey, in 2 weeks we're going to need these books.
Okay.
Or a month.
Communication is
communication. But like I said, I think it might be kind of fun to let the volunteers maybe pick out the children's books, the adult books that they want to give to the library to give away. Because again, that's a way, again, to tie them to what's going on. Oh, hey, there's a summer reading wrap up. How fun. There's going to be a bunch of kids there. And they help pick out the kids' books.
I would tend to say that it's often the case that that the volunteers don't have time
Oh, okay.
to
Okay.
pick out a bunch of children's books. Sometimes they will, and other times they wouldn't. So just making sure that Lisa knows that there's a need by a particular date, and she can work with the person who is in charge of shelving the children's books to make sure that it happens. I mean, it's just and I don't know that. Some volunteers aren't interested in children's books. So again, it's just a communication issue that needs to be clarified.
This also feels like it could be solved with like 2 months of lead time or something, because we know, Joy knows we know when these programs are, there's no surprises. So
Sure.
plenty of foresight could be used, I would think, right? I mean, and things are coming in slow, then there's extra time to collect or sift through
Or again, maybe it's just communication. Like, we're not interested in doing that for you, but you're more than welcome to come in and pick out your books. Again, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just
Yeah, sure.
trying to find different ways
Sure.
that they could, then they would know what's going on. But anyway, that's just.
I appreciate, this is Trustee Linares, I appreciate all the work that you do at the Browser's Corner. I go there often.
Thank you.
And it sounds like communication is the situation here. And so just bringing it up in this meeting has probably solved it. Because if you don't know that there's an issue, then you don't know you have to solve it. So I appreciate that you brought it up,
Thank you.
both of you. I think that's good. And when we say somebody's going to pick the books, we don't know if there's a whole bunch of 5-year-olds or 14-year-olds, and those are not the same books. So we have to know
Right.
that. I had a question, though, if you don't mind. How did it come to be a school that's not in Carson City that gets the books?
Well, probably because they asked. You
well,
know, it's
you
not.
may have opened a can of worms there.
Well, you know, realistically, last Christmas, one of the volunteers and myself, we had put together some coupons for teachers
Oh, nice.
to give them, like, we gave them two coupons, one a 50% off coupon and a 20% off coupon. The 50% coupon could be used like between, I don't know, the 1st of November and Christmas. And then the other one, to kind of encourage people to come back, it could be used after Christmas.
Okay.
We took them to every single school
Mm-hmm.
in Carson, and we asked the assistants to put them in the teachers' boxes. They were more than glad to do that. We had one coupon used.
All right. So it sounds like more communication, and it's just not that contact
Well,
is happening.
yeah, I mean, it's, I think that sometimes we think that children don't have enough books.
Okay.
I think in the schools, I think there probably are many opportunities for kids to get books,
Okay.
whether they use them at their school library or teachers provide them. I mean, teachers can also go to Classy Seconds. You can buy books for 10 or 50 cents at Classy Seconds,
Sure.
you know, little books for kids. So I don't know how often teachers will spend their own money and go buy books for kids. And I'm not sure what the contact was with Jacks Valley Elementary School.
I was just curious. It just seemed
Yeah.
odd to me that it would be a school not in our county.
Yeah.
That's all.
And it is a matter of, you know, if somebody were to come ask, if there were a teacher in Carson City that came and asked for, you know, say, well, I need 25 books for my third grade students, and would you be willing to donate them? I'm sure it could be worked out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right.
Because, you know, again, the mission of the Friends of the Library is to support the public library. And, you know, we all have the same mission in a sense of literacy for the community and making sure that community, not just kids, have the opportunity to, you know, have books.
I applaud that. I'm not saying people in Douglas County shouldn't read. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. You know,
Okay.
I don't know, maybe they're too far south in the county there. People ignore them. I don't know.
Thank you very much.
They don't have a wonderful used bookstore like we do either, so they don't get that kind of opportunity in Douglas County, I don't think.
They do have a used
Actually,
bookstore.
just opened one recently.
What?
Yeah, in Douglas County, they just
Oh, did
opened
they?
a used bookstore. No, it's not like the Browser's Corner like we have
It-
here. It's not the same mission, but they did just recently open one up.
Because I do miss Shelby's.
There's still a bookstore there. Shelby's, yeah.
Oh, huh.
It's not Shelby's, but
Well, maybe that's why I can't find it.
yeah. It was called Luminary. I don't know if it's still called Luminary or not, but it's the same place.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Nice.
Mm.
Well, Trustee Markle, thank you very much for this. And
Well, one more thing I forgot to mention. The Friends of the Library is a member organization. It does cost $20 to join as a member, and there are several different levels of membership. And I would encourage everyone to, you know, become a friend of the library through membership. And you do get you'll get a card. You'll get a 20, no, maybe it's not 20, but it's probably 10% discount on your purchases. So, you know, people like the Browser's Corner bookstore.
it's a great
So-
bookstore.
Well, I hope that you keep us updated in your, double purview here. If there's anything from that you learn in, your communication updates that you're doing with your people over there about how we can support them. As stated, we understand our goals, objectives, and our limitations over here. And also, I appreciate the chair's thought that we could have a mutual exchange. So please, if things come up.
Okay, yeah, we also on Friday, well, that's tomorrow. Yes, Friday would be tomorrow. There's an author talk at Browser's Corner.
Bruce? Is it
Bruce
Redding?
Reddig, who lives in South Lake, and he spent some of his younger years on the oil fields in the Arctic. He's going to be talking about that. And there was one other thing. What was the other thing I was going to say? I can't remember now. But so supporting Browser's Corner that way, usually it's at 5:30 on Fridays. Not a large crowd comes. We don't really sell books at that time unless the author brings some books. Also, I know the other thing. We also post the flyers that are prepared for the Browser's Corner author events. We post them at Browser's Corner, and we post them on the wall at the library on the wall, the community wall. Also, it's often in Carson now. There's
It's on Facebook. If you follow them on Facebook, they have a Facebook page. That's where I get all my information. Bruce is somebody I've known for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I used to he used to do some work for the state because he's also a web designer.
Yeah.
And he designed a lot of state websites, and he is a wonderful storyteller. So
Good.
that's wonderful. So again, I want to thank you for this, and I'm wondering, would you be up to maybe doing something like this quarterly? We can have a standing. Just let us know what's going on over
Sure.
there
Sure.
and how we can support as a library, and then also like this, let us know about the author talks and what you're doing for teachers or something like that. That would be awesome. So Joy, can we?
So I'll remind you, Bets, when you're back on deck.
Okay.
And so that will be tentatively November.
November. Okay.
I appreciate you wanting. You wanted
Thank
to
you,
do that.
Bets.
That is great. Okay. Anybody else?
I have one last question before we close this item.
Yes, absolutely.
I had actually looked at the agenda for Monday's meeting, and I found it kind of personally interesting and was thinking about attending, but I do not want to create a quorum. Was anyone else planning on attending? Okay. Okay.
It is budget. Yeah, budget closing season. I thought about it, but I can't go. So.
Drive down and look at each other in the parking lot awkwardly or something.
You sit way
Okay.
over there. I'm gonna sit here and act
Okay.
like I don't know you.
Thank you.
I promise not to talk about any library board business.
And if I may, Joy Holt, Library Director for the record, I actually go to the meetings every other month and give an update on where we're at with our spending of the Friends money. So I do have that interaction with them every month, just to keep them abreast of where we're at and what the money that they're giving us is being spent on. So
Well, thank you. Okay, so let us move on. Okay, am I reading this wrong? We have 5, right? And then we have 6. No, we just did 6. Okay, but I'm sorry, because it was 6A. I'm like, where's 6B? There is no 6B, correct? Okay, I can really, I do math, I promise. Moving on to 7, and we're going to go directly to the library director's administrative reports.
Joy Holt, Library Director for the record, does anyone have any questions about the financials?
About the, I'm sorry, the
The
what?
financial reports?
Oh, that's pretty early in the fiscal season.
And I will have a wrap up, Trustee Lucas, but it won't be, they're not wrapping up until the end of August. So, and we still have stuff coming in that we're having to expense to fiscal 25. So that won't, it'll probably be around October before they are through their audit and all of that. It's where I can trust those numbers. But again, we don't typically fall too far off the mark of what you would have seen last month. But there's always some ebb and flow there. I can say this, we won't have busted our budget at all, the bottom line.
This is Trustee Linares. I just want to clarify, when you say, does anybody have any comments or questions, do you mean, I looked at the, was it fiscal year 26 that you gave us a a copy of, right. I'm curious, because I just don't know. I noticed that contractual services were like half as much as from 2025, but I don't know what that even means. Could you?
Well,
Clarify
the reason that
that for me.
we didn't receive less money overall. I moved money from the contractual services because we weren't spending all of that budget. And I moved that into our book budget for two reasons. One, we were coming in under budget on contractual services because the only thing we were really paying out of that was our cooperative contract, which was the Nevada Library Cooperative that we're a part of. It's the consortium we're a part of, and we pay for our integrated library system and our overdrive through that organization. And that's an organization that I can absolutely explain more about. But for today's purposes, it is something that we've contributed towards since it came into effect in like 1984. And it was created so that the small libraries and rural libraries, ours included, could automate. And so we do have shared resources. And the biggest savings that we get from that is with the integrated library system. So that said, we had a fairly large reduction in the cost of that because of our migrating to a new ILS 2 years ago. And so we also needed to bump our book budget in order to remain eligible for Library Services Technology Act funding. So the way that it has a match, that's through the Institute for Museum and Library Services, that is very much up in the air. Those funds are very tentative. But that said, in order for us to be compliant and receive those funds, there's a variety of ways that we can meet our match. The easiest and best way for us is to make sure that our communities or general fund money is at least 10% of our overall budget. So meaning our bottom line budget is 2.27397. And so I moved money to get us closer to that overall amount that you see under the 500,645, books, periodicals, and publication. I moved money from contract services at the start of the budget when I built it into our books and periodicals line items so that we could be within the 10%. When we have to submit what's called a public library service every year to the IMLS, showing that our community's contributions to, or our municipalities' contributions towards supporting the library, that our book budget is at least 10% of our overall budget that's contributed from our municipality. Does that make sense?
Thank you for that explanation. I do appreciate it. It just seemed like I wasn't really sure what it all meant.
Mhm.
Could I ask a follow-up question that's
Sure.
unrelated to
Of course.
probably numbers? Is books, periodicals, and publication, does that include the online?
It does.
It does,
Mhm.
okay, because I know that we talked last time that that's heavily used and maybe needs more attention or something, but I wasn't sure.
Well, I
about
have
that.
some things to say about that
I'm
later.
looking forward to it, yes. Okay, thank you for that clarification. That was my only point.
Thank you.
Hi, does anyone else have any questions about the budget?
What about the janitorial supplies? You buy them for the whole year?
We buy them for the whole year, yeah. And they do a great job. I can't speak highly enough of them because they only have 4 hours to clean our entire bathrooms, floor. They actually got a capital improvement project a couple of years ago to buy what we call the mini Zamboni to clean our floor. And they covered that, facilities covered that, or Public Works ultimately. But we do pay for, most of the cleaning supplies that they use.
Yeah, that just 70% stands out.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, there was one other thing, but it's so tiny that I can't imagine but there's no education incentive. It only had $1,000, but now there's none. I don't even know what that means, really. Like, who are you
Let
giving
me
incentive to?
look at that where
To the
we're
staff
looking.
or something?
The reason being is because education incentive is when we have staff members who are educated beyond the requirements of the position that they have. And right now, we don't have any staff members who have a degree beyond the requirements of the job that they're in.
Okay, and
Does
if
that
they
make
were,
sense?
if you were to hire someone like that, then you would be able to,
They would receive,
Request it.
it's a $500, yes, and I would
Okay.
request it. I would more than likely,
Mhm.
because because we don't have any budget for it, at our time of augmentations, I would ask the budget to be adjusted and augmented to put money into that line
Great.
item.
Thank you for that
Mhm.
explanation. I just thought, oh, now there's nothing, no incentive.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
more
why,
sense when you
yeah.
explain it, though.
But
Thank you.
we always have opportunities when we don't have any budget in a line item, outside of the stuff you see at the top, the management leave and all of that, the finance handles that. But in other areas, if I feel that we need funds in that line item, I can request that at 2 different times a year.
Any other budget questions? Then I guess we can move on to your report.
I'm sorry, Trustee Mansell, I do have one additional question about the funds. I noticed that there are some minuses in terms of the remaining budget when it comes to annual leave payoff and overtime and holiday pay. I am assuming, based on what you just explained, that at those times where, the budget can get augmented or moved around, that's when those sorts of things get addressed too. Is that correct?
They aren't addressed until year end.
Until year end.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
great.
I have nothing to do with any of that.
Sure.
That all gets squared up by finance at the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
I'm just going to close this out because if I get too many windows open, I get confused. Okay. Okay, so open positions. We have one senior library assistant position available. We have posted for it. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time, but our technology coordinator, James Wernett, stepped down into our open senior library position that we had. So that senior library assistant position is filled, but we're going to have another one open it's a good thing that we already had the job open because we can use that candidate pool to interview because our senior library assistant, Kelly Robertson, has resigned and tomorrow is her last day. So that position will be open. I do believe we have an internal candidate. Someone has expressed interest. And so we'll move on from there. The technology coordinator position is available. However, I have rewritten that job description or revised it, and I've requested that the title be changed. All else will remain the same, the grade, the pay, all of that. So Human Resources is reviewing that for me right now, and once they have approved it, then I can move forward with posting the job. I'm very likely going to post it internally. I've had 2 staff members express interest, and it's always very nice to be able to promote. This is an unclassified position, so we don't have to post it for the regular amount of time that we would have to. And so like I said, once that job description is approved, we'll post it internally and go from there.
I'm sorry, this is Trustee Liniers. I think my mind took a walk as I was trying to juggle. What is that job that you're saying that you rewrote? What is the title?
It was our technology coordinator position.
Okay.
And I've rewritten it and requested that it be called the library services manager.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And when you say you have internal candidates, I think that's great. People want to promote and stay. But do you have more than like one
Yes.
person? Okay. Okay, so we're not just.
Well, the senior library assistant is one person. And so we will interview that. Typically, when we have one staff member who's expressed interest, especially for a classified position, we will interview external candidates.
Okay, you answered my question. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And then we have one library assistant position open, and interviews are pending. The senior library assistant, or excuse me, library assistant positions are difficult in that we receive so many applications that are that don't meet minimum qualifications. And so we have a lot of applications that we have to kind of sift through. But Sarah, our deputy, is going to be setting up interviews for those here shortly. And we did, I think I mentioned this last time, but we did hire a new library clerk, a part-time staff member, and she started this week. And so far, so great. So with our programming and outreach events, I've just listed some of the things that we've got coming up. And if does
Before we
anyone,
move on, I'm sorry, does
Yes.
this mean that we filled our workforce development?
no,
Position?
that position is still pending, but it has to be reposted.
Okay.
Because the candidates that I reached out to for interviews were no longer interested. So that's my bad, but also I am being very deliberate with that position because it is very unique.
Do we
So-
have a ticking clock before we lose our person from, is it GoEd? We need overlap for them to train.
Yes,
Right?
a year.
Okay.
I'm curious, this is Ann Linares, you said that a lot of people apply, I think it was for the library assistant one, who don't meet the qualifications. And I was curious about that because I saw, is it 2 years of library science education is requested? Is that the
It's-
holdup? Is that what?
It's 2 years of library science education with 2 years of experience or 1 year of experience, or education and experience that, because there's an equation you can use to look at someone's education versus there's like I said, there's an equation or a ratio. So
Okay.
I think it's 2 years of education equals 1 year of experience and vice versa.
Okay.
But we typically don't hire if the applicant has no library experience, meaning they've not volunteered, they've not worked in any capacity within a library.
Mhm.
Even though that is an entry-level position, when we've hired folks who had no library experience, it's very difficult for them to acclimate.
Really?
And a lot of it is, my experience is the public aspect of it. And a lot of times what we get on the interest, the reason that someone is interested in the position is or their objective on their resume is that they love books and they love libraries and they just really want to be around books. And what can happen is they'll start the job and then we don't sit around and read books all day. And we try to communicate that in our interviews. But a lot of what is happening with why we're getting so many, like we had 100 plus applicants, the reason they're not making it past minimum qualifications more often than not is no experience and no experience and no education. So
And no education in
Yeah.
library science
no education,
beyond high school?
right.
Okay, because where would one does UNR or WNC, do we have a library science program around here?
They can go through an
online?
accreditation, but they can also do it online.
Okay.
And frankly, I mean, we have some staff members who have gotten an associate's degree in library science, which is a 2-year degree, but we will also consider a related field, or if they have a bachelor's degree, which is beyond the 2 years. So that's where that sort of comes into play when myself and Sarah Martel, our deputy, are looking at who we'd like to hire.
Okay.
But typically, we get enough candidates who have some library experience that we can choose from that pool. It's just that we have so many applicants because it's an entry-level position. And frankly, since COVID, we've received a lot of applications, and HR would agree with this because we talked a lot about it, that I believe are probably people who have applied other places in the city and are just going in and sending their resume to us.
Okay.
Because we'll get applications often that are like, I really just want to work for NDOT, or I'd really like to work for Public Works, or they don't realize that we're not an academic library or an archive. things like that. So we have to sift through all of that.
Okay, I appreciate you taking the time to explain
No,
that.
thank you. So I'm going to move on to programming and outreach. I'm not going to go too far into all of that. I tried to highlight what I thought would be of particular interest. As you can see, we're trying to really kick it off at the very beginning with the teens, because we do have a bit of momentum going with our teen space. And so we really want to keep going with that. And then I'm going to move on to the statistics that I provided. So you can see the numbers that I gave there for summer reading. That at the time of this writing was, on August 6th. We did actually have a few more completions, and we reached 1.1 and some change million minutes read. It is. The highest reader for the adults was 38,000 minutes. Yeah. The highest for 7 to 11-year-old kids was 252 hours. There were some people who were, because I was there at working some of the table of people checking in to get their completion prizes, who were a little bit in disbelief and really didn't think that a 7 to 11-year-old could read that many hours per day, because it's about 4 hours per day. And I thought I was that 7-year-old. I was the nerdy 7-year-old spending half my day in the summer in my teeny little town reading books. So yes, our community really turned out. And I think that at our staff training day, we talked a lot about this, even though it hadn't come to an end yet. We knew we were getting really close and to over 1 million. And I really think that there's a lot of things that contributed to that, not least of which is we had the funds from the Friends this year to purchase raffle prizes for any time someone came to a program. So our programs had a way bigger turnout. And I also think we just did a really good job marketing. I think Haley Wilson, our programming and outreach coordinator, and the team that worked with her, the entire staff, this was a group effort, and I think we had a great theme. And so, yeah, it was a great success. So I'm trying to find those. And one last thing before I move on to the next, or we move on to the next section, which is the graphs that I provided, the strategic plan updates. So we are going to be having our small one-on-one groups the day, September 4th. Once Dr. Steinman and I have gotten the exact times that he's going to conduct those meetings, if there's time, because he's going to meet with the staff first and really get their buy-in and their input. Whatever he has beyond that, I will certainly send y'all a schedule, and you can come in and have that one-on-one with him as well. And then from there, we'll start the community meetings. And of course, I'll keep everyone abreast of that. Another thing that I didn't list on here is that our new circulation desk is going to probably arrive before our next meeting. So second week of September is the tentative arrival date. So you'll see big change with that.
I'm glad that you're stopping right there, because I have a question for you. I'm still a little confused about this, sorry, because when I first started, we had just finished the strategic plan. Since, how much is the board involved? Because
I was going to ask the same thing.
I feel like we should be more involved.
I
and
was
feel
gonna
like
ask the
we
same thing.
shouldn't just have him come report to us and tell us this is what our plan is.
I thought he came and had a feedback session with the board.
Well, he can certainly do that. Yes, he
Yes.
did. I wish that I could speak more to it, but this was all done in 2019 before I was at the library. The initial plan, the first year of the strategic planning process. So I can't really speak to it at length, but I do know that he did have these one-on-one meetings with the staff, and he did have meetings with the board.
I feel like
So-
we had we had a meeting that was a working session with him.
Right.
I feel like
And I think that we could certainly schedule that along with the staff. That's one of the plans. I'm hoping that at our next staff training day, we will have that. And my intention was to invite y'all to come to that as well. So it would be the board along with the staff in a working group coming up with making contributions to the development of the plan.
Would that need an agenda?
Yes.
Notice we all look at Adam.
That would need to be agendized.
Okay, so
Or-
we can do that in a board meeting?
Yes.
Yes, and I think that
So,
would be
I'm not
more
sure how they did it
appropriate.
before. I'm guessing they didn't do it as I just suggested, so because they wouldn't be within open meeting law compliance.
Correct.
So I suppose we'll do that in a meeting here, and then we'll have a staff training day, and I could open it up to you guys, but then again, we'd have we'd be at risk of a walking quorum.
Accidental
So,
quorum.
but we will be meeting with him at a staff training day, and then every year thereafter, at least one of our staff training days, he comes and we do a refresh.
Because what I remember, gosh, I bet it was my second meeting. He came
Mm-hmm.
in with the whiteboard and he was going through, and he was just kind of telling us, this is what the staff, this is what we've decided. And I was like, well, okay. And I thought maybe I missed a lot because I thought, well, shouldn't the board be,
No, what I remember is he actually came and asked us questions about what we, just the same kind of questions he would ask the staff about, what we would want for the library, what direction.
That's true, he did do
Yeah.
that. It's not so much of a working group, but we could, I'm sure that he would, and he's done this before, so I can reach out to him. He did it in 2019. I wasn't a part of it, but I
Right, it was-
don't
Todd
believe it was
was,
an
yeah.
actual working group, and it was a meeting.
It was.
So that's my understanding.
This
It has to be a meeting. Otherwise, they would have been outside of compliance with open
I mean,
meeting
it was in a
law.
meeting, but I feel like we definitely gave feedback and
No,
it was definitely part of the process of building.
Yes, it was a Q&A.
Yes.
okay, thank you. Thank you for clearing
Right, this
that
is
up.
trustee Lindners, that training that I took to be a trustee, it did say that this is a joint action between you, the director, and we, the board. So it feels like you're doing all the work, or you and ours doing all the work. And I think that's what we're touching on here, which is a lot of stuff's going on over there, and then they come and tell us as opposed to
No,
our ideas being part of it. But that could just be that I don't understand. It's not clear, and we have such a short timeline because of this difficulty. Because isn't this all wrapped up by the end of, it has to be to a certain phase by,
Right.
I have some
that's-
concerns.
I understand your concern, but all of those things are true. It is a short turnaround time. However, we have done this with Mr. or Dr. Steinman before.
okay.
The board is always involved. There is always a session where he comes and does a Q&A with you. That's part of the scope of work he provided. And then he also comes every year to do a refresh. So even though the initial strategic plan needs to be wrapped up by the end of this year, we will meet with him again every other year to look at the strategic plan and refresh it, change it, alter it in any way that we need to.
But
So
when we
it's-
say we, which we are we?
Well, he will come and do a Q&A with you all, and or a refresh. And we can do it any way you guys want to do it. Or he can just come and do a presentation of what the staff decided upon and what the community surveys that we did as part of the refresh process reflected, and how the demographics have changed and all of those things. He can come and do just a presentation, which I think he did in the last year of 2024 or 3. But
Well,
he
he did do a presentation before the plan was completed.
right.
So I think we saw him a couple times.
That's what I thought too.
And it was because I don't know that, I don't recall exactly, I'm sure it's in the minutes someplace, if he already had feedback from surveys and staff and shared some of that with us, and then we added questions and comments. And then the next month, he came and gave a kind of a wrap-up of where it was going, so that,
Or once it was completed. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't completed, because it didn't have our final say-so, but he gave us, I'm pretty sure it was at least twice within the initial, from beginning to completion, the
Right.
planning part.
And we do give him a final okay. Because I guess one of my concerns, not fears, but one of my concerns is he comes here and he says, well, we talked to the staff and I did some surveys and we've decided to change this.
It's never that simple. It's always much more, he always puts much more work into it than that.
No, I understand that, but again, I guess my concern is he comes and he puts a lot of work into it and tells us, I was under the impression that this is something that we would vote on if we're going to change the strategic plan. This was something that the board would agree to.
Well, if I remember correctly, that is what we've done, isn't it,
Okay,
Trustee
I just want
Merkel?
to make sure.
Now I'm doubting myself.
Well,
Yes.
because I don't remember. I just remember a
Yes.
couple of
So
reports
there's
from
a
him.
couple, there's a couple of different, we can certainly do it more than twice. We can certainly do it more than him coming and asking for your input and doing that sort of quasi-working group where we sit and discuss, or we can do those things more than once. And then, of course, then he'll come and discuss it with you all after he's got all of it compiled, and this is the draft, the final draft is what he comes with.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I think it's a fundamental confusion on my part as to who is the driver. And I thought that since we are a governing board, that we would be having more discussion before a presentation of this is what we decided or this is what we're thinking, which I think I'm just repeating what you are also saying.
Yes.
And I think it's a fundamental confusion. You're doing a lot of work and we appreciate it, and he's doing a lot of work, but we're rather passive. And I think it's not, in my mind, I feel like if we are the governing board, should we be passive? Or should we be part of the wheels, the cogs and the wheels and the spinning and the talk? I see you nodding your head. I mean, is it making?
I mean, my understanding is, yes, he'll come, and he'll, early on, like, I don't know, maybe next month, and he'll
Maybe.
talk to us.
Good.
And,
Okay.
he has a lot of experience, and he has
Right.
a lot of experience with this type of thing, not just, and he has experience with this particular library.
Right.
So he will ask us, he'll guide a discussion
Okay.
for us to provide input.
All right. Good. He'll provide us the structure.
Yes.
Okay,
He'll-
because
he
I
will
was
guide
hearing a
us.
couple of different versions and it sounded unsettling to me in one version, but then there was that other version. So I like your version. Let's
Okay.
go with your version.
Okay, good. Yes, he'll guide us. It'll be like a guided discussion.
I think also, even though we're the governing board, the staff is their day-to-day. So if we have something in the strategic plan that's not working for them, then he's going to discuss that with them and then come back and talk to us about it. But we do have to
Absolutely.
trust that it's the staff, it's the library director who sees it firsthand if this is working or not.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I was hearing he'll come and tell us what,
Right, and that's what I
and
was
that's
kind of
just
hearing.
didn't sound,
I remember,
Right.
I need to refresh my training again because I did it 4 or 5 years ago, probably right around the same time that we were. doing
You do
strategic.
actually, and I have information for you about that. I'll email it to you. I was going to speak to you off record
Yeah,
tonight
I
about
did
it.
see that. I have my log. I need to go in and do it again. But
Oh,
I
okay,
remember
good.
feeling that
Oh, I
same
did send it to you.
disconnect when I went through it the first time, thinking like, oh, it sounded like we were going to do it. So I think I know what you're saying because I think I did those things. I think I did mine very close to the last time we built the strategic plan as well. But I do agree that, I mean, honestly, I think a strategic plan that we built would probably not function that well for them just because we aren't boots on the ground. So it does, I feel like maybe that training misrepresents that a little bit. And I'll find out when I get back in there and do it again. But that is my recollection.
Well, and I think that the statute is a little bit intentionally vague because in Nevada particularly, the board might have no choice but to be more involved because there's 2 employees at the library. And every library has to have a strategic plan every 5 years in order to be compliant with modern public library standards through the state to receive collection development money from the state. So that allows for that. But typically, the larger libraries, medium to larger sized, the board is involved, of course, but the majority of the work falls on the hands of the staff.
And also, within the state of Nevada, every state or every library community is not set up the same way.
Right.
So there might be a community where the Board of Supervisors is more involved in the library than here. I mean, we're sort of designated by the Board of Supervisors to take on this responsibility, where there are some communities where the Board of Supervisors is the final say. And so the work has to be done by them. And so, like you said, Joy, the statute being vague enough to account for those different, the different ways of how the communities are governed.
I appreciate it, and thank you
Thank you,
for using
that's
your
correct.
experience to help me understand this.
Sure.
Things in the training, the first time I took the training, I was a little confused too. And one of them was like the budget. I thought, wait a minute, we're supposed to be building the budget. We don't. So.
When that comes down-
question anything, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, and that comes down again is a little bit vague. There's two things that go on there. One is the type of library we are. Are we a town? Are we consolidated? We're a consolidated municipality, but we're not a consolidated library district. So those are two different things. And so those boards function differently than this board would. And also, the budget can be, the way that it's built can be dictated by how the funds are provided by the municipality. So, if that makes sense.
I have no problem with the
Yeah.
budget.
So,
I'm sure you've got
it
it right.
just is to piggyback on what Trustee Nichols was saying. So, yeah, and as far as I'm sorry if I was confusing you about when Dr. Steinman comes to speak, he comes and explains the refresh after he's met with our staff to do the refresh. But I'm certain that he would be willing to come and take input from you all and do that same process every year that he would do this first year, if that makes sense. So he would come and hear from you as well as then come back with the final draft of the refresh. The thing is that we didn't do that in 2020 for obvious reasons. And then also, I think we didn't do it the last year because it hadn't changed much. So.
Well, and to clarify something, this is Trustee Spansale.
Mhm.
At the vote last time, where we voted to go through with the strategic plan and by go through, I mean like to pay for it, right? And like the vote that we had.
That was a different contract. Yeah.
Yes, excuse me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And when I read through it and when we had extensive discussion about it, part of what we were doing when we all voted for and then when it passed that contract was that we were empowering the person who we were engaging in that contract with to do the things that the contract stipulated, right? And if I remember correctly, the contract did explain in a lot of detail that we discussed what he would be doing with different groups, including us. So I'm assuming that, while we're talking about the details of this and, the follow-ups, and then this is all really excellent information for newbies such as myself, I was under the impression that when we voted to let that contract go through, that we would be, following what the contract said in terms of how often he would come and what kinds of things he would be communicating to the different, stakeholders.
That's
Right.
correct. But
That's
he's
correct.
also has some flexibility
I see.
within that.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand. Okay.
Do you want to move on?
Yep. If you guys are ready to move on, I am. So this is an opportunity for us to go over. I'm trying to find my graphs. Did you guys get those?
Mm-hmm. I have notes on them.
Hmm?
I have notes on them and everything.
I'm trying to find where I stuck it, but I thought it was
Yeah, I think they're
there.
behind your report.
Aha. Aha. Okay. Okay. So you can see we had a decent bump from last year. And we had a bump in completions. And
Let's go back for a
dr-
second.
yes,
Sorry. The bump was huge. I mean, it wasn't a little bump. That's a huge bump in the number of, I guess, I'm looking at number of attendants. Sorry. Maybe I'm on the wrong page, but
okay, so do you want to talk about the signups and completions, or are you talking about the programs and
I
attendance?
was talking about the program
Okay.
attendance. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
was jumping ahead. I was so excited.
Yeah, I mean, well,
That was the raffle, right?
I think so, but also we
Partly?
did substantially more programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More programs.
hmm and they were really good programs. So that was one of the things that we intentionally focused on, was we felt like we needed to do more programming that was more specific to the summer reading challenge itself. So in the past, what we had done, and this has been all in a work in progress, because in 2022 is when we began to do our own theme and not the consolidated summer learning program that a lot of libraries do. It's a national program. We broke off from that and started doing our own thing. So we were trying to find the sweet spot, and we saw that we were rocking steady here, you can see. And that's when we knew we needed to bump up the programs. And then everyone, all the staff came forward with awesome program ideas. And also Haley Wilson, our programming and outreach coordinator, is a superstar. So, and you can see it paid off. We had a lot more attendance, but I also think the attendance was absolutely encouraged by the raffle prize. And it really, circling back to the Friends, we were able to do that because we were able to bump up we requested more money for the summer reading program. And they also contributed more money to our yearly community programming, which then allowed us to commit more of our funding, general fund funding, to the summer reading program. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the Friends' generosity that allowed us to be able to provide those prizes and buy the supplies needed for these programs. And then you can see, I mean, that number's not even accurate anymore. And then, so does anyone have any comments, questions about any of this stuff? Is this what you were hoping for, Trustee Nichols?
Yeah, and I was
Okay.
looking,
Okay.
beyond that. The other ones you provided, I appreciate that.
So I'm going to go to those. I keep on losing my spot. This is why I don't have so many things open at a time, typically. Okay, so I'm going to blow this up because it is microscopic on the paper you've got there. I'm sorry, I did my best. Okay, so you can see that we've had, a little bit of an increase in our circulation. And that's a good thing. We did have a drop of checkouts. This is print materials. And a drop in renewals, which coincides with the drop in checkouts. However, our overdrive, and I'm just going to give you these numbers, our overdrive checkouts were 20,000 plus. And I don't have a graph for that because I was only able to just get the numbers together today. So I'm sorry for that, and I can bring those next time. But we also had 5,000 new pieces of digital material we purchased this year. So our circulation for our total circulation for overdrive was 20,000. So add that to that number. And we spent $82,000 with overdrive.
So what's on this graph?
Mhm.
It says total checkouts fiscal '24 and renewals. We add 20,000
To the checkouts for fiscal '25.
Okay. And there's essentially no renewals.
I didn't render any renewal results from overdrive.
Right. Because they don't let you.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty
Very often.
commensurate usually, it's close. So you can see we had a big bump I mean, so our checkout is significantly higher because of the electronic or the digital resources checkout, if that makes sense. But also to give an idea of how expensive the electronic resources are, $82,000 bought us 5,500 items because they're expensive.
They are.
And the Friends make a huge contribution. They gave us $17,000 that last year, and they're giving us the equivalent of that this year. All of our collection, most of our collection development grant from the state goes towards electronic resources. And then, of course, we spend a substantial amount of our general fund money for books for those resources as well. And they're well used.
So the total checkouts for fiscal '24 do not include overdrive.
No, because overdrive has to be gleaned separately from this.
Okay, so this small little part down at the bottom, you don't have that.
Correct. I do not.
So we don't know if there's been a increase or decrease.
In what?
Overdrive checkouts.
Yes, there has. I have that information and I'll provide, but I only brought this year's totals, but I can
Fine.
bring that next time to you.
It
If
won't
you
make
want,
a
I can bring
difference.
these again too.
That's okay. It's not
Okay.
gonna, it won't make or break us.
I'm also going to start providing these items to you guys more frequently. I'm going to try quarterly as well, so you'll see where we're going through the course of the year. And it's a work in progress, so certainly if I'm not providing what you want to see, I'm happy to I'm malleable. I'm happy to tweak it as needed. So you can see pretty big amount of checkouts. Obviously, our collection development, and here's how I arrive at this. Obviously, our collection development, we're doing something right because even though our checkouts are a little lower, our renewals are higher. So the books that we're checking out are good. That's the takeaway I'm going to walk away from, is that people are taking longer to read their books, but that's because it's a good book. Because if people don't renew and they didn't finish the book, then they didn't like the book.
There's really no way to, I know personally, I get overdrive through the Carson City's consortium, but I also borrow through Washoe County. So there really isn't any way to collect that data, is there?
What data exactly?
From what people are borrowing digitally overdrive from other library systems.
No.
No.
We have no access to that.
Yeah.
But we can take out that 20,000 that I just gave you. That's Carson City's items
Yeah,
specifically. Yeah.
right. But it's a smaller item than, or it's a smaller total than the ultimate possibility that's out there. So what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I could
And-
look at public library surveys for other libraries to see what their electronic resource circulation was versus ours, but I don't know I would have no way of knowing what their number, where they're pulling their numbers from. Like, what does
Right.
electronic resources mean to them?
I mean, what I'm saying is, if there are people within the Carson City community with Carson City cards who are borrowing from Overdrive, and if they also are borrowing from Washoe County, is it an extra 15,000? Is it
No.
an extra 20,000?
I have no way of knowing
I-
that.
I-
Yeah,
I-
it would
I
be
know.
cool though.
I know,
Yeah.
it's just,
A nice to have if we could.
when
Yeah.
you look at data, it's nice to, be able to see data. And sometimes it's not always available the way you want it to be. But
Well, I
because
can tell you.
there are more, what ultimately it comes down to is there's more checkouts than show up. Because there's people who are using other library systems to check out Overdrive, which is as well, additionally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is a good thing. I can tell you that last year when I was doing the public library survey, I went in to look at our some from way past to see because I'm a data person and having seen that big bump really makes me feel good. And I just decided, well, I'll go look at San Francisco, and we. In comparison to our collection size versus our circulation count, we only circulate 5% less than they do. If you look at those, all other things being equal. So of course they circulate 8 million, print materials a year. But how much of that is the percentage of their collection
Right,
circulating
compared to
is,
their-
we're only 5% less. So we circulate a lot of our collection. And that can also be tying back to the library assistant position, the volume of work. When we talk about, because we are very clear in our interviews that this is about how much this is our average circulation, and these are how many books that are coming in, and that can be intimidating, so, yeah.
What is total in-house use? Like, what is it, what gets tracked in-house? How does it-
In-house is when you see someone sitting at a table and they're reading a book, and we ask them to leave that there, we call it a flat.
It's reshelves. Okay. I was like, is
But we consider that because they're reading it in the library, yeah.
just wasn't sure if it was getting tracked on the computers for like digital stuff being pulled up within, or if it was the physical like.
No, it's
shelves.
actual
Okay.
in-house physical usage, yeah. This is all print stuff.
This is Trustee Linares. I'm curious, are you able to determine, when we look at population served, and you look at the people in overdrive, is that the right terminology for people who do things like on Libby and all that kind of stuff? Is that the electronic readers and the print readers? Is there a way to tell, are these different people? Are these, like, how do we know who we're serving with which mode of reading?
We
Are we
can't-
able to determine that?
Like the specific people.
Yes, so, I mean, like, yeah, like, say, if I went in and I got a physical book, and then I went home and on my Kindle I got something else, I'm one user, you're serving one person. Is there a way to analyze, are we serving a different segment of population with a different mode of reading?
No, unfortunately, because we
not able
don't
to.
track the reader's reading unless
Right.
you
Okay.
ask TISC to do that in your account. That's for privacy reasons.
Okay. All right, so it's about 50 some odd thousand print and about 26 some odd thousand.
20 over the last course of the last year
Right.
of items
okay.
that were
So
checked
about,
out.
yeah, so half as many of one. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I was just curious when we look at who we're serving in the population. I was just kind of curious. That would be cool to find out, but I guess we can't find that out. So.
No, unfortunately, we
appreciate
can't
it.
narrow
Yeah.
it down that granularly.
Yeah.
And that, because in order to do that, we would have to be tracking what I'm reading
Right. Which
and
is
then
not
have to
cool.
look at my age and my,
Right,
like
right.
we're hot amongst the, 30 to 50-year-olds. There's no way for us to do
But
that.
it is
yeah.
something that can be teased out during the strategic plan. Because there can be questions, community questions.
Yeah.
About, how often do you use Libby and Overdrive? And do you use another library as well for that?
And that's always a question, which is also how we know that we needed to keep it going with the digital collection. We had the numbers, but we also had the feedback that people were a lot more comfortable after COVID using those electronic resources. So we're never, and maybe I just try to be realistic about our door count, for example. We're much lower than we once were, but that's because our virtual door count we can count that as well. That's how we count that, is the number of people who are that 20,000 is the equivalent in terms of library usage of somebody coming through the door, if that makes sense.
I was going to,
Or not the 20,000, but however many people, because we can figure out how many people checked out the 20,000. And I have that information. I can get that, so.
I was going to ask
So
you
that's how
about
I
that.
can,
I was going to ask you about that, so thank you, because I was like, why is that down? But that would make sense.
Oh,
I guess if you don't need to go into to library to get your books.
right.
And you
But
have
that's
Kindle.
just how we provide the services now. Well, I'm trying to maneuver it so that you
Oh,
guys can
okay.
see it, but have it be big enough.
Okay.
This is, you can see it's not that easy to see because of the color, but it's checkouts, renewals, returns, total transactions, and then total checkouts and renewals for each month from 2023 until June of 2025. So fiscal 23, 24, and 25.
So this is Trustee Linares.
Mhm.
I love the graphs and I love the information. But one of the things that it's doing is it's telling us books read. But there are other things that you offer the public as well. And so it would be very interesting to see how else do we serve, and is it growing or not? So if you were to have to say, oh, we do more than just check out books, we also, and then you think about the other things that can happen in the library.
All of that's tracked.
Say
All of
it's
that is tracked.
and it would
Everything
be
that we do is tracked.
good
In terms
good.
of, we keep statistics on all of that because that's how we sing for our supper.
Right.
I think
That's
Chair Nichols just asked mostly for circulation this time. Is that, I think that's how we got here, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, right.
But we did provide the program attendance statistics for the summer
Exactly.
reading challenge, and we don't track that just through the summer. We track that year round.
great.
And that's also important for us to know in terms of attendance, if this is a program we should keep going with.
Right.
Because sometimes they have to, we try to do a 3 to 6 month look back and see, how's this program doing? And does it need to get axed? It just isn't picking up steam. Sometimes they need a little bit more time to grow. But that's why we always let everybody know who suggests a program that they need to remember not to be married to it. It's never personal. If only 2 people are coming to a program for a 3-month period every week, then we're not, then that's a program that's probably not going to be worth our time. One thing that we do look at also, though, is are there new people coming? So do we have only 15 people coming, but it's different people every time? That's progress, because that means we're getting new people into the library. So we look at that as well.
Could there be more of a, for another day, a breakdown in, like, say, children and young adult and fiction and nonfiction and AV?
The circulation,
Yeah,
it's in here.
it's in here.
A lot of it's kind of small, so.
Oh, you mean this one?
I told you it was microscopic. Yes.
Okay, I see. It does say equipment, Blu-ray, books, etc.
And then also at the top, let me find that other one. I think this is all just big, much white. There we go.
Okay, thank you.
What is self-register on that?
Self-register is when someone goes onto our website and they create a preliminary account for themselves. And that allows them for a short period of time to access our electronic resources, et cetera. And then if they want to continue after that, it's like a week or so that they get services. And then they have to come in and get their physical card with their barcode.
Okay. And then where it says internet and internet youth,
Right, that's internet-only cards. So those are folks that come in and they just need to use the computer, but they may not have an address, they may not be a permanent resident. And we created that so we could track the people that were coming in who were only using the computers. And the internet youth are the youth who have internet cards. But we have to distinguish between internet adult and internet youth because of the Child Information Protection Act laws that we're required to abide by.
okay. Thank you.
And that's an interesting point. If anyone ever asks, are our youth computers filtered? Yes, they are. And the way that we make sure that children are not having access to adult content is that their card, our adult computers are set up that their card will not work on those computers.
So this, the next, I guess it's this page, indicates that in fiscal '24, the total this is just new patrons. So the total number of new patrons is less in fiscal '25 than it was
That's right.
in '24.
Yeah.
Okay,
We did a purge.
okay.
We purged some self-registers. So the bad news is we saw a drop in our patron count. The good news is that's a real number. That's not a number with a bunch of account cards that aren't being used. And so we're trying really hard to keep up with it. And then also an added silver lining is that because our consortium contribution is based on a percentage, we have less patrons because it's based on an equation that involves the number of patrons. So there's that. But I do think that we're going to see an increase. I'm hopeful. But I would rather know, and that's not a huge difference actually, if you look at it over the course of a year. But I would rather our numbers be real numbers than having like, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but when I first started, we did a purge and it dropped our patron count in half because those cards hadn't been used for 5 years or more. And so, yeah, that dropped us. But now I did that intentionally to remind everyone, for those of you who weren't here, I did that intentionally so we would have real numbers. We would know that is the actual number of new people that we have, or this total patron count those are actively being used cards.
Thank you for all the information. And thank you for the lively discussion. It was good.
Thank you. Any other questions? And so then this is also an opportunity for you guys, or actually, if we're done here, then are you guys ready to move on, or do you have any other questions about this? Okay. So I'm done.
You are? Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, item 7B. Does anybody have an announcement or request for information? This is your time. If you want to see something on the next agenda, let us know. If you have something to tell us, to announce.
I had a question that may be something I want to know, or it may already be done, and I just didn't do enough research to know it. Before I was on this board, I watched some old meetings, and there was a time when you had some policies and you discussed how, well, some of these things aren't really applicable anymore. Has that been remedied?
It hasn't, but it's one of my job objectives for this next
Okay.
evaluation period. So it is going to
Oh,
happen.
Score.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been something that's been in the hopper for a really long time. I just haven't there've been fires that needed to be put out.
Right, okay.
Metaphorically. So,
believe-
yes, that is a very clear objective of my evaluation period for this next year.
And I believe we're waiting until we do the strategic plan as well, when we're talking about that, because we might need some new policies in place. It might clear up some confusion in some of them
Right.
also.
And it'll probably have several iterations because right now there's low-hanging fruit. The
Right, there's
low-hanging
some
fruit
that's
being
really easy to take
yeah,
out.
and then from there we'll get more to the nitty gritty of the things that we need to add or remove. Or the removal part will probably be easy. There will
Okay.
be other things that I will draft it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll probably do what I call is kind of like when we weed a fast and dirty, where I'll get all the low hanging fruit off the tree and come to you guys and say, okay, here's this. And here's what I suggest we change. And then it'll just be a drafting process from there. And it can take several drafting versions to get to it.
Okay, so that was the thing that was on my mind. And then based on what we talked about earlier about, I don't remember the man's name, who's doing the 5-year plan.
Dr. Steinman?
Thank you. Is he coming to visit us?
Oh, for the agenda next time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can he come next
Yeah.
meeting
Yes.
In September.
in September?
Yes, I will have to check with him if his schedule permits. If not, I'm certain that we have enough time ahead of time in October for him to come.
I just wanted to, I received some information from Nevada Humanities and Nevada Reads. Nevada Humanities every year designates a couple books as, that they want the whole state to read. And this year, on September 12th, at the Brewery Arts Center, Willie Vlotten is going to be doing a presentation. Willie Vlotten is an author. He doesn't actually live here anymore, but he's a musician. He grew up here. His latest book is Horse. He's going to be doing a presentation on the 12th at the Brewery Arts Center from 1 to 3.
September 12th? Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. On that next day, September 13th, you reminded me with saying Nevada Humanities. Nevada Humanities is doing the literary crawl, and that's not happening in our town, but it is, with one of our partners. And I am doing a workshop there. So I just would like to formally invite you all to come to the literary crawl.
What kind of workshop?
It will be a workshop it's called Courting Your Muse, and it's about how you can think of the concept of the muse if you are a writer and how you can write
Ooh.
with that as a sort of imaginary concept in your mind. So I just wanted to extend the
Thank you.
invitation.
Thank
I
you.
would have forgotten had you not mentioned humanities, so thank you so much, Trustee Markle.
And let's not all go to her workshop at the same time.
So, yes,
Right.
we know that the accidental quorum is something
Be
we're trying to
mindful
avoid.
of the quorum,
Yes,
friends.
Yes. But as a matter of public record,
That's
knowing
wonderful.
that we were doing it, Nevada Humanities wanted to mention it.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've
Thank
done-
you for
I've
that.
done one of
Nevada
those.
Humanities does such great work.
They do great work. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I have one question for our deputy district attorney. I mean, just because a bunch of us go to a community event doesn't mean we have an accidental quorum, does it? I mean,
Correct.
if we don't talk.
If you don't talk about business, that's within the purview of the library
Right.
board.
Okay, so we can all go to
You
events.
can all go and just don't talk about anything that would be within the purview of the library board.
Perfect.
So what you're
Thank
saying,
you.
Adam, is that they can all go and learn how to court their muse
They can.
together, collectively. Very nice.
Okay, good to know. Anyone else?
Yes. Hopefully, I can't remember what day our meeting is, but
The 4th, isn't it?
is our meeting the 4th?
I believe it's
Well,
the
then
4th.
I'll have some last.
Oh, no, not our meeting. I'm sorry, you're
No, the
first
meeting with
workshop.
Dr. Steinman is the 4th, the
Yeah.
first workshops.
Yeah.
And that our meeting is the following week. So I will have information for you, and I will, hopefully Dr. Steinman can come on that meeting as well, if his schedule permits.
Just one comment. I know Trustee Linares has asked a couple questions, but about the agenda, can we either now or later learn about how the agenda is prepared? You know, who prepares it, who has input to it, so that we all know where the agenda comes from.
Which agenda are we talking about?
The
Ours?
meeting, the library board meeting.
Well, right now, you can put input in, that's,
Who do we put input into?
you request information and you just say, so for our next meeting, I'd like to see X, and then that goes on the agenda.
And Joy puts it on the agenda.
Correct. And then about 2 weeks before we have a meeting, Joy and I meet and we talk about what's going to be on the agenda, and then I give her some directive on maybe tightening it up or something that I want to see on there. But now, if you want to see something on the agenda, this is your time to say, this is what I want to see, either on the next agenda or maybe in 2 months, I want to see X.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I kind of know that, but just wanted to make sure that our new members understood exactly, you know, how we arrived with,
Thank you, Trustee
how we
Markle.
arrive with an agenda.
And I did announce it at our last meeting, that this is a time for anybody, if you want to, you want something on the agenda?
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, we want to have a discussion about how the agenda is drafted and comes to be what you see here before you.
I think
For
we
the
just
next
did-
meeting?
We just did it.
I think we just did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
10-4.
You can mark that off there.
yeah.
Okay, So does anybody have anything they want to see on the agenda next time?
When I asked about the policy update, that's what I was leaning toward, but I couldn't quite tell if that's realistic for the next agenda for you to do the low-hanging fruit by then. But because I also heard that you were saying maybe we're not going to update the policies. So I'm just a little confused on the timeline that has been pre-existing before I came.
I'm
That's
sorry.
The
I didn't say
library policies?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't say we weren't doing them. I said, we're waiting until we do the strategic plan.
Right, but I thought that Joy said maybe she would be doing several versions, which made sense to me, like fix it and then talk and then fix and then talk, and that's all.
It's not feasible for me to have that by the
Thank you.
next meeting.
And that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much.
But, and now on that note, really quickly, I will be gone for the last week of this month. So the 25th through the 29th, and Sarah will be acting director. Sarah Martel, my deputy, will be the acting director.
Thank you.
To clarify what was stated by Trustee Linares earlier, I would like us to discuss, as is applicable and as Dr. Steinem is available, the updates to the strategic plan at the next agenda. I was under the impression, based on what you said, Trustee Linares, that that would be there anyway. But I would like to formally request that whatever that can be discussed from the September 4th meeting that you have with Dr. Steinem, whether he himself is here or it's more, continuing to check in about these things, I would like that to be on the agenda next time if that is feasible.
It is.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thank you for adding that. And if it's feasible to know the dates of when those workshops, the public workshops would be, and all those things that are in that plan about, because there's not that much time, so he must have some dates in mind. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Are the dates in here?
No.
They're not? Okay, because I know there's some dates in here. So, yeah, that would be really good if the next meeting you bring us the dates.
I will do my best.
Okay, we appreciate that. We always appreciate you doing your best.
I say that because I don't know if we'll have all of the dates nailed down, but I'll bring you what we have for sure.
Okay. Okay, and speaking of the director doing her best, I do have an announcement, and it's more of a appreciation announcement. So I was able to go to a training that the staff engaged in about a week ago on Monday. It was Homelessness Escalation 101, and I was able to sit in on that training. And the training consisted of kind of showing these videos and how to do things. And I just really want to give praise to Director Holt, because as they were doing this and they would stop and they ask, does anybody have any questions? Director Holt would then turn to some of her staff and say, yeah, they just did this, but the other day this happened, and you really made a difference in someone's life. And because you kind of took this and you were already doing it, and she gave real life examples of how the staff were already very empathetic. And it was things I had never heard before. But she gave them a lot of praise. And I just want to say kudos for you for doing that, for being able to grab it right there and go, see, because that's reinforcing good behavior. But also really kudos, because I'm going to cry, because you told a really touching story, to the staff for being as wonderful as they are to the homeless, because I know it's really tough. But there's some wonderful things that we don't see, and there's some wonderful things that the staff is doing, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for that. And I can tell that story again really quickly if you guys want to hear it. Long story short, there was a man that used to come to the library often, and we knew him, and he passed away. And the people that were friends with him on the street let us know that he passed away. And he had a very high achieving life, and something had gone wrong. Obviously, he was deeply addicted to alcohol, and we've literally would see him every single day up until here recently. We see him every single day. And what I praised the staff about was that we had been empathetic enough and developed a relationship with this man to the point that his friends knew that we would care to know that he'd passed away. So I'm just really proud of them. And we were already doing a lot of the stuff that we were talking about in that. So yes,
Yes, and again.
So thank you for
pointed
that.
out- Yeah, and again, you pointed out to them, which was wonderful. And they were really engaged in the training, so I appreciate that too. But I appreciate how empathetic.
thank
they
you.
were.
I appreciate that feedback.
Sure.
I was also able to attend some of that training, and I did appreciate the conversation and being proactive about, to support your staff. So
Thank
they
you.
knew how to be their best selves for themselves and for their public.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And I always try to keep a certain measure of humor too. That gets you through it. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the feedback. It's, it's always nice to hear the good.
We appreciate you. Okay, with that, we're going to go on to item number 8, public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time? Don't have anybody here, so I'm going to say no. So we're going to move on. And so I think we're just going to move on and we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
I
everybody.
love the discussion. Thank you, everybody.